Hi folks, we're Tacitus today, your pushback channel, and thank you for joining this audio live stream. Please listen to this presentation as you would a radio broadcast. In this essay, I'd like to talk about the ongoing and very, very aggressive, very well-funded, very active demonization of working class straight white males. Now, I guess there's a few things to observe here. One, and this is a very concerning development, and I noticed this drift over the last sort of 18 months or so. That is the attempt by the globalists to make working class straight white males, particularly Christians, to make their class and socioeconomic status synonymous with Nazis. So they're trying to create, and I think largely have created in the minds of many, a correlation here that if you're a straight white working class Christian male, you are a Nazi, if not Hitler personally. And they've tried to make that correlation, and you see it now across the spectrum in media coverage and propaganda, advertising, and this is starting to creep in that anyone who voted for Donald Trump is a Nazi. Anyone who doesn't agree with LGBTQ sidewalks painted everywhere around is a Nazi, and so on and so forth. So and this has got to a point now where it's been repeated so much and so often, and with such grim determination. Clearly a choreographed propaganda campaign, clearly choreographed. Now, the globalists have realised that the big losers out of the globalisation project are Western working class straight white males, and so the attack on them is relentless and vicious, and this also has to rely exclusively on the most grotesque untruths. So it's not propaganda that kind of puts a seed of truth in there. It is outright blatant lies, and they're going for it as hard as they can. And given their control of the United States is slipping, then ginning it up in other countries, such as Britain and Australia. So I just want to have a look at this this demonization thing now. There's if you look at, say, in a particular area of Australia where there's a lot of Pacific Islander people that have been moved in as migrants, now they've got very different views on social structures and behaviours and this sort of thing. So they're often very violent, and they get drunk, and there's all sorts of drug dealer things like that, and they're often dragged into court for what's called family violence, and it's almost exclusively the people I know in the legal profession say it's like a 95% Pacific Islander problem. So you would think that any advertising or any campaigns or any leaflets about creating awareness of this but they see it as a gender conflict issue, not as in this case, a race issue, which they're dropping. So the propagandists, or the propaganda in this particular area, features only straight white people, straight white males, and by the way, middle class, guys who are reasonably well dressed and so on. Now, if they had a guy sort of a drug addict and low IQ and handicapped and so on, it wouldn't have the same resonance. So they want to have, this is a straight white male who's in full command of the faculties and who is just evil to the fucking core, as all straight white males are because they're Nazis. So they're presenting him as quite a clean cut guy, and he looks clean cut. He's wearing the suit. He's got a nice haircut, this sort of thing. But really, he's an evil basher of women and da 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 da. So they're presenting it that way. So the propaganda focuses exclusively on straight white males. Even though straight white males make up about 5% of the complaints, or the 5% of the court cases, and it's overwhelmingly an Islander issue. But the propaganda presents it as being 100% a straight white male problem, which it isn't, and not even close. why do they do this? Now, some people say, well, they don't want to make mass migration look bad, and if they point out it's a Pacific Islander problem, then one of two: either it brings mass migration to disrepute, or people are going to ask questions. Well, why are you bringing these people in, these Pacific Islanders, if they're creating such problems? Why don't you evict? So they don't want to have to deal with those questions. So instead, they just artificially and grotesquely, in my view, presented as a purely a white. No one else is involved. It's just a white guy issue. Now you see this in all the the rape propaganda, for example. Australia and college campuses or thing are the most dangerous places in the universe for women. They're young women. They're being raped 10 million times a second. You'd think, from looking at the propaganda. And this is again, the great majority of the people doing it are not white. White men are the lowest category in terms of, and in the areas where the supposed rape, it's the date rape. She had half a glass of wine too much, that type of thing. So it's technical rape rather than forcible or gunpoint or anything like that. But still, the propaganda only presents straight white males as being the problem. No one else is done. It's only straight white males. Now, the list could go on. In cases where there's been anti-Semitic behaviour in Australia and so on, it's presented as straight white Christian male Nazis are doing it. No brown person or anyone's just those damn stuff. So again, they default straight away. The bad guy is the straight white male. Even though out of the 10 incidents, one was a straight white male, and we're talking like a long head, low IQ draghead. I reckon someone put him up to it. So, but anyway, it's not a straight white male thing. So no matter where you go, now if you look at, say, alleged sexual harassment of girls in, say, senior high school, for example, that's presented as a uniquely straight white male, even though that just a casual look at the statistics tells you that's not the case. If you look at sort of murders in domestic relationships, 75% of these come from a certain black community that make up 2% of the population. But again, they only present it as a straight white male issue. Now, just recently in Britain, a movie was made about a youngish teenage boy who's apparently this off the caricature level misogyny and patriarchy. I mean, it's just a fantasy world they create, where everybody running around is waving swastikas. I mean, fantasy upon fantasy. And so when you look at all the all the murders and all the stabbings and this sort of thing, it's straight white males are like, if you look at the top 25 racial categories, straight white males coming at about 26 out of 30, and there's every imaginable black and brown grouping. It comes way higher on the list. So, but it's presented as being a uniquely straight white male problem. Even though straight white males are the least likely to be doing it, but in the propaganda, that's it. It's straight white. The problem is those straight white males, because working class straight white males are Nazis. The problem is Nazis, and that's the rationale, the lies that they're. Now the government, the public services, the globalists, the NGOs, they're all pushing the same line. The media aggressively pushing that same. It is a straight white males are the problem. No matter what area of criminality you look at, it's the straight white male, which of course is the opposite, the opposite of the reality. And in Australia, there's propaganda things about men not showing respect for women, and so the people not showing respect are always straight white males. And the men that are stepping in to protect the little woman and uphold are always, immaculately presented and well-spoken black people. Talk about reversing the reality of things. So Now, this goes on in, I mean, every conceivable area of race and gender interact, particularly gender, but race and gender interaction. It is the white men that are depicted as being the bad guys in every situation. There was another propaganda movie I saw in adverts I saw in Britain where there are young white men or teenage boys, I guess, say, I don't know, 15, 16 years old, speaking with Cockney accents. So they're not presented as being, the clean cut private school middle class boy or something, and they're particularly harassing brown women on, say, public transport and so on. And every single one of the bad guys is white. Now, I've seen firsthand it's the complete opposite in the real world. So so they're willfully and aggressively, with well-funded campaigns, willfully telling lies, and attempting to undermine white populations, white males, and so on. Now, again, it suggests how scared they are, how the globalists thinking, well, these straight white males are they're not getting out the way, and they're not coming on board with the globalist project. So we have to eradicate and crush them. And that's really what it's all about. And of course, the globalists control governments like that stupid little, stooge fuck Keir Starmer and the flunkies around him. They couldn't be happier and couldn't be more agreeable to get on board and do this. And anyway, they're going to get waterfront mansions out of it. So what's the problem? You've been with Tacitus today, your pushback channel, and thank you for listening.